It seems like everyone and their mother, when they get into this business of self-publishing, want to know, hey, how to become a best-selling author on Amazon. And inevitably, I just take a nice pause, just deep breath, and I always have to find out why. Because folks, listen, becoming a best-selling author on Amazon is really not all that it's cracked up to be. And I'm going to share with you why best-selling books on Amazon are a farce. And we're going to get to that in today's 100th episode of Self-Publishing with Dale. Stay tuned. What's happening? It's Dale here, and I'm just tickled to death you took a little bit of time out your day to spend a little bit of time with me to talk about my favorite thing in self-publishing books. Yeah, that's right. I snuck it in on you. Today is the 100th episode, and that just makes me smile. I've stuck to this podcast thing for this long. Prior to doing the 100 podcast episodes, I had a quote-unquote podcast where I just essentially just repurposed. I just took the MP3 from the MP4s, and I just upload them from my YouTube channel. And, it just didn't translate well, and it didn't set well with me because I'm a fan of podcasting. So when I saw that and I said, well, would I listen to this podcast? I'm like, no, I would just go over and watch the stinking YouTube videos because there's a lot of things that you need context on when it comes to a video. But for a podcast, it's a little bit more personal. And this is why I really wanted to devote my time, energy, and attention into something that is made just for you podcast listeners. And so I want to thank you. If you've been listening to me for the past 100 episodes or the past episode, it means the world to me that you've done that. And it also means the world to me that we have an exclusive sponsor again in Author Brand Kits. You all know that I recommend building a brand to sell more books. Now there's a service that can handle it for you. Check out Author Brand Kits. They take care of everything for you. Websites, emails, social media, and so much more. Visit dalelinks.com/ABK. The link is inside the show notes for today's podcast. So it was about, I think 2016, that Brent Underwood had launched an article online about the myth of the Amazon bestseller status. You hear people saying, I'm a best-selling author, and hey, look, I'm just as guilty. You don't hear me saying it much anymore, and you'll find out why I don't say it much anymore in just a little bit. But he wanted to kind of just bust this myth, this belief that Amazon bestseller status was just an amazing feat. Speaking of feat, he did this by way of a book that he published called Putting My Foot Down. Now you're probably saying to yourself, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, Brent saw how flawed the system was on Amazon. How he was able to just find the right category, associate that to his book, sell just a couple of copies, and then was able to be a #1 best-selling author. Now, you're kind of going, what? He did what? Why would he do that? Why would he game the system like that? He did it to prove a point that becoming an Amazon best-selling author, it's actually rather easy, and it's still fundamentally flawed, to be honest with you, because that was done in 2016 and not much has changed since then. You're still able to take your book and categorize it in just about any category that you want to on Amazon with little recourse. So you could be putting out a Werebear Shapeshifter novel and you can ask them to go ahead and put you over into young adult fiction. Is it right? No. Why do people do that? Well, they go ahead and miscategorize it because they see that there's very little competition in this random category. So then all they got to do is sell a couple of books. They become a #1 bestseller. And then they can start touting, oh, hey, I'm an Amazon best-selling author. So Brent Underwood was clever in that he really exposed Amazon's best-selling status. So I went ahead and I said to myself, all right, this was about a year or two ago. Thought to myself, all right, I need to show people just how simple it is. And this is the crazy part because I I really just wanted to educate the audience and show them how simple this was and not do it in the irreverent way in which Brent did. You know, Brent was just kind of like, look, it's flawed. Me, I was like, okay, you want to see it? I'll go ahead and show it to you. So I helped publish my brother's first book called Live Streaming Kit. And it was kind of a case study of sorts. I asked him, I was like, hey, do you mind if I go ahead and do this? And he's absolutely, go ahead, no problem. And so what we were able to do within the course of 12 hours, we were able to rank #1 bestseller in 5 categories, #2 bestseller in 1 category, #3 bestseller in 3 categories, and #4 bestseller in 1 category. And it also hit the top of the Kindle store, the bestsellers at 8,892. And I think even beyond that case study from the video, it ended up hitting the top 3,000 at some point or another. So, but during that 12 hours is how that had performed. It had additional bestseller status in Canada and also UK, because bear in mind, your book might sell horribly in the US, but maybe it sells really good in Canada or really good in the UK or Brazil or Australia. And with each one of those zones and those regions, there's a different bestseller ranking system. Because you can sell 50 books within the course of an hour on .com doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to sell anything or get ranked in UK because you sold nothing. So this is one of the ways I kind of break down the bestseller system, is that sometimes it's just region specific. So you can find a region such as, let's say, Canada versus US. To place in bestseller lists on Canada is way easier than it is in US. Why? Because there's more sales in the US than there are in Canada. Likewise over in, say, Brazil or Australia compared to the US. Okay, so we did this less than 12 hours, and there was a whole strategy to it, and I'll get into it in a future podcast. You're ready for this? And this is a part that I think everybody just tuned out on this particular video where I was sharing this case study. By becoming #1 in all those categories, becoming a bestseller in all those different regions, the profit was $10.50. $10.50. When you think best-selling book, do you think $10.50? Now, if you're an insider, you're probably like, no, I know that. I know better, Dale. But if most outsiders hear best-selling book, they're probably thinking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in profit for a given author. So this just shows you how the bestseller ranking system is just so flawed when it comes to the Amazon marketplace. So if you were to look, though, we take Amazon bestseller, and if you were to compare it to really prestigious places like the Wall Street Journal bestseller list, the USA Today bestseller list, the New York Times bestseller list, those will equal thousands of purchases within a course of a week. Thousands. Notice I said in the course of a week. Now you're probably like, well, what does that have to do with anything here, Dale? I'm glad you said something, because on Amazon, the bestseller ranking is updated every 2 hours. So what this does is it opens up a big, wider array of opportunities to authors that you wouldn't normally get through Wall Street Journal, USA Today, or New York Times. So at any given moment, you can knock somebody off the top of the list. And I've known so many self-published authors who have done this to traditional published authors. But the issue is, though, with the 2-hour ranking, unlike the other bestseller lists like Wall Street Journal and so forth, your bestseller status lasts for at least a week. However, with Amazon, that can last for about 2 hours before it's peace. We're out of here. Because it's so competitive. There's something that's referred to as rank erosion. So where you might have a slew of downloads and purchases of a book during a given 2-hour period, and that might influence your bestseller ranking. Well, in the next 2 hours after that, it's going to lose a little bit of ground because obviously other books are being sold during that time. And so that rank is going to start to drop just a little bit. And then it starts to almost dogpile over the course of, say, a day, 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, 2 months, 3 months. So where you might have been crushing it as a number one in some given category or even 1,000 in the overall Kindle store, if you don't sell consistently, that rank is going to drastically drop considerably. In fact, David Gaughran does a fantastic breakdown on this. Highly recommend go picking up a copy of Amazon Decoded. Fantastic read. Really good. He talks a lot about rank erosion and some of the theory behind why it does what it does and how it does it. Very good. I'm not going to get into that because oddly enough, David just does a fantastic job. He's a hoot too. I love his writing. I have no link to that. Just look it up. David Gaughran, Amazon Decoded. You'll thank me. So what's the real value of a best-selling author on Amazon? I told you $10.50. You're probably going, man, your brother must have been really disappointed. No, actually, he was like, oh, okay, cool. He's like, I'm a best-selling author. I'm a number one best-selling author in 3 different regions. Awesome, great. This really depends on the person. First of all, let's get it out the way. Vanity. It is some type of vanity. People like to actually have that attached to their name. I am a number one Amazon best-selling author. And sometimes people leave off the Amazon part. They'll go, I'm a number one best-selling author. And I'm going to tell you as one finger's pointed forward, 3's pointed back. Because I've done that at one point or another. But anymore, I'm just not vain enough that I really feel like it carries enough weight to put that on my name. Maybe if I had Wall Street Journal, New York Times, or something else like that, then I might say something like that. But I'd make sure to say Wall Street Journal or New York Times best-selling author. But it's a vanity type thing. Some people like to have that, and that's okay. I don't want to take that away from you. For some reason, you say, Dale, I want to be an Amazon best-selling author, and I don't care if it profited $10.50. It means the world to me. Don't let me dissuade you from that. If that is important to you, then you do that. You be you. That's totally fine by me. The next one would be credibility. Some people would think credibility. Now, to outsiders, possibly. A lot of outsiders, when you tell them, hey, I'm a number one Amazon best-selling author, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, you're a big deal. Because why? You said best-selling. They don't really realize, most outsiders don't realize how simple it was. They don't have this breakdown that I gave to you of a case study or know about Brent Underwood's book called Putting My Foot Down, which, by the way, the book was just a picture of his foot. Forgot to add that. It was just a picture of his foot. And then later on, he updated it to include why he did it. But beyond that, that's really all the book is. And it might still be on Amazon. At any rate, though, so to insiders, though, this is where you're going to kind of get, it's a mixed bag. There's going to be some people within the indie author community, they're going to applaud you. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. You became a number one Amazon best-selling author. Awesome. Great job. And I'm kind of that sector. But there's going to be another sector of folks that are going to side look you. They're going to look over and go, yeah. How many books did you sell to get to that point? They're going to look at you sideways. If you're not concerned about that, then that's great. Fantastic. Move on with your life. Because the vast majority of people don't really realize the inner workings of being an Amazon best-selling author. Other people do it for aesthetics. Do they want a sticker on their book that says Amazon bestseller? Great. Now, I'm going to warn you. You're kind of playing with fire. That's one of those instances. Amazon doesn't like you putting their branding on your cover, claiming that you're a best-selling author on Amazon. I would recommend, if you just do it, just be very simple. Don't put any Amazon trademark branding on your book. All right? Just recommend. Now, don't do it. Don't just Google up some image that some other clown used on theirs. To me, I think you're just going to junk up your cover. leave your cover as is. It's already got enough to do and work on. Slapping on Amazon bestseller is just making it a mess. Keep it off. That's just my opinion, though. If you want to have the aesthetics of that, go for it. Some people like to have the aesthetics of being listed inside their bio. Again, kind of like the credibility thing. They want to say, best-selling author so-and-so. Best-selling author Dale L. Roberts. Some people like to have that aesthetics. What I want to ask you is, why do you want to become an Amazon best-selling author? I have a good friend of mine. He's in the video creator community. Big YouTuber. Huge following. And we briefly had a conversation. And one of the things he said, and he's followed my channel enough, he might even be listening to this podcast at one point or another. He said, Dale, he goes, I really don't care about how successful this book is, but I want to become an Amazon best-selling author. I want to become a number one Amazon best-selling author. That was his exact words, I believe. And he goes, before you say anything, he's like, I know what you're going to say, but it means a lot to me. And so in instances like that, I'm not trying to take the wind out your sail. I'm not trying to spoil your plans. But if you're trying to hedge all your bets on becoming an Amazon best-selling author, like thinking, oh, I'm going to go ahead and pay my bills with this particular tag, if you want it because you want to go ahead and say it along with your name as an author, then go for it. Hey, I got a couple small little tips here before we wrap up today's podcast. Big special thanks to our sponsors, Author Brand Kits. What if I told you that you could have a complete author platform done for you in under 1 month? Author Brand Kits is the answer. Find out what it's all about at dalelinks.com/ABK. And folks, just recently I got word that the Alliance of Independent Authors has officially made Author Brand Kits a partner with an excellent rating. So big congrats to Author Brand Kits on that successful placing and vetting. Ally is very, very picky about who they make as their partner. So in any event, hey, final tip. Let's go ahead and wrap things up here. I actually have linked to the referenced article and the video I was talking about inside the show notes. So make sure that you go and take a look at those and peel through them. Next week on the podcast, we're actually going to be talking about how to publish a best-selling book on Amazon. All right, I sat there and I poo-pooed about it. And I told you, no, it's not all that great. But there's some of you out there that say, Dale, I really still want it. So I'm going to give it. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. The A to Z of how to self-publish a best-selling book on Amazon. It's easier than you know. So that'll be next week. Hey, subscribe or follow me on your preferred podcasting platform and leave a review or even a comment. For instance, over in the YouTube podcast channel. Did you know I got a YouTube podcast channel? Go to dalelinks.com/YouTube podcast and subscribe today. Become part of the 1K sub club. That's right. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. Who's going to be 1,000? I think we should have a celebration for that. But I wanted to bring out a comment that was left on the video for self-publishing a book online, Book Baby Publishing. Dorinda Jones says, fantastic information. Thank you. Yes, Book Baby was probably one of the more eye-opening episodes. It was funny. Somebody at one point or another called Book Baby a scam. And I'm like, Book Baby's not a scam. In fact, they are also an ally partner with an excellent rating. Book Baby is just a paid model. They don't publish your book for free like other places. Does that make them bad? No. But the nice thing is when you pay up front, you get 100% of your royalties on there. But you want to find out more about that, go over to that old podcast where I talk about Book Baby Publishing. It's very interesting. I was in touch with the founder at one point, and I was going to get him on the podcast, but it just never happened. Hey, folks, in the meantime, it has been really, really awesome sharing the 100th episode. Here's to 100 more. I'll see you in episode 101. Take care.